at it again, and we have another one from the great Thomas Sowell. Let's dive in.
You were, in your early years, you were a Marxist.
Yes.
What happened? How'd you get away from that?
I took a job in the government. I went to the University of Chicago as a Marxist. After a year of studying under Milton Friedman, I was still a Marxist. But one summer of working in the government was enough to start returning around.
Really, what happened to you there?
Well, nothing happened to me, but that I realized that the government was nowhere close to being capable of doing what people on the left wanted the government to do. And that, in fact, we'd be lucky if they didn't make things worse. For example, I was in the Labor Department, and they administered the minimum wage law. To me, the question was, did minimum wage laws make poor people better off or worse off? Mm-hmm. That was not the question for them. The minimum wage law provided 1/3 of their total budget. And they weren't going to look at this other way. And as I tried to get into the question of does this cause unemployment and stuff like that, there was no enthusiasm whatsoever for that whole line of reasoning.
You've written a trilogy of books about people you call the anointed,
yeah.
which are basically liberals.
Mm-hmm. That's terrible. To enact something and not really even care about if it truly even works or not, just because it sounds good to a lot of folks. That is absolutely shameful. Absolutely shameful. But we see it playing out still today. It's crazy.
About people you call the anointed,
yeah.
which are basically liberals in American society. What do you mean by calling them anointed or self-anointed?
That's right. There are people who seriously believe that they are wiser and nobler than others. And the way to improve society is to have the government force people to follow what the anointed want rather than let people do what they themselves want to do. And there are all kinds.
WEF, World Economic Forum. The anointed. They want the government to force us to follow what they think we all should be doing instead of letting us follow what we want to do. Sound familiar, huh? Klaus Schwab.
Rather than let people do what they themselves want to do. And there are all kinds of fiascos that follow in the wake of this kind of notion.
Conservatives are routinely blamed for not caring about people. And yet you say just the opposite is true, that it's liberals who care about their vision
yes.
of how the world should be, but not about real-life human beings.
Absolutely. I think the busing thing was a classic example. You would be hard-pressed to show how black people, white people, or any other people were benefited by this. But the liberals loved it. It enabled them to be morally superior to those who were fighting against busing. And the evidence, one way or the other, really did not interest them.
Aren't conservative free market ideas sometimes hard to sell? I think of the labor unions and liberals are now attacking Walmart and saying Walmart pays its employees too little. I mean, that's a nice thing to be for. You know, you want more money for people who work at Walmart. What's wrong with that?
Hey, I want more money for myself. But that doesn't mean that someone else has an obligation to pay it. If you're paying people for their work, instead of just paying them for what they think they need, then clearly these people wouldn't be working for Walmart if someone else thought their work was worth more than Walmart is paying.
So why do you think liberals have jumped on
point.
Walmart?
But also, as we have seen, you start paying more and giving people a lot more money, then the price of goods go up. So that cost ends up being on you anyway. You either pay it through your salary by just continuing to take the ways that you agreed upon, or Walmart capitulates and pays you more, but then they raise the price of milk to counterbalance what they paid you more in salary. So what are we even talking about here? Like that's the way that it works.
Walmart is paying.
So why do you think liberals have jumped on Walmart? Because of its success?
Because of its success, that's a sufficient reason. They really are for helping. They're for helping people who are disadvantaged, as they put it. Whereas I think conservatives want to stop people from being disadvantaged. You know, the liberals
Say that
are
again.
disadvantaged because of its success. That's a sufficient reason. They really are for helping. They're for helping people who are disadvantaged, as they put it. Whereas I think conservatives want to stop people from being disadvantaged. You know, in other words, the liberals want to help the poor while they're poor, but really the biggest benefit is to stop them from being poor. And that they have very little interest in.
What is the liberal premise?
I guess the Rousseau notion, that man is born free but is everywhere in chains, that the real problem of the world is that the institutions are wrong. If the institutions were right, then there was nothing in human nature that would cause us to be unhappy. It's the fact that we have the wrong institution.
What is the conservative premise?
That man is flawed from day one, and that there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. And whatever you do to deal with one of man's flaws, it creates another problem, but that you try to get the best trade-off you can get, and that's all you can hope for. I've often said there are three questions that I think would destroy most of the arguments on the left. And the first is, compared to what? The second is, at what cost? And the third is, what hard evidence do you have? Now, there are very few ideas on the left that can pass all three of those kinds of things.
Can conservative ideas pass those?
Yes, I think so, because they
Wow. Compared to what, at what cost, and what hard evidence do you have? Really interesting there. That's something that I'm going to remember. And whenever there's a debate of any sort, I'm going to ask myself those questions. Compared to what, at what cost, and what hard evidence is there to support it? Needs to pass all three of those questions. I like that. Thomas Sowell is always dropping gems on us. That's why I love checking out Thomas Sowell. This is a national treasure. This man should be celebrated. This is ridiculous that more people don't know who he is. It's crazy. This is something we should be marching out in the streets about. People don't even know who this man is. I didn't know who he was until, 2-3 months ago.
They don't assume that there is a solution out there. Adam Smith didn't believe that either the government or the market could solve all problems, that you have to be able to simply tolerate certain things. And the idea to the left of tolerating any evil, that they want to stamp out the last vestige of segregation. Really? At what price?
So, Thomas Sowell dropping some gems on us once again, some truth bombs, of course, as always. That's what we expect whenever we check out some Thomas Sowell. There are no solutions. There's only trade-offs. That's one that should be touted a lot more and talked about a lot more. There's no true solutions. There's only trade-offs. You try to fix one thing and you create a problem somewhere else. You give people more money, you just print a bunch of money. Okay, more people have money in their pockets, but you cause inflation. You pay people more money on their checks. Yeah, you put more money in their pocket, but stuff at the grocery store, the prices go up. There's no solutions. There's only trade-offs, and you try to find the best trade-offs. And another thing that, was kind of interesting was when he was talking about, the hard evidence and caring about what actually works versus, kind of what just sounds good. If it sounds good, some folks will just run with it. It sounds good to the populace, so we're just going to do it. Doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, I have a perfect example, I should say. It was about New York. The lady was talking about the new gun laws there. And one of the reporters asked, so what evidence do you have to support, these new laws that they'll actually help? And you know what she said to that reporter? She said, I don't need any evidence. That's what she said. I don't need any evidence. That is where we've gotten, where individuals in positions of power just do what sounds good. They don't care about any type of evidence whatsoever. They don't care if it actually works. It just sounds good, so that's what we're going to run with. I just want to take the power away from you, so that's what I'm going to run with. I don't care if it actually will work or not, if it actually will help save lives or not. I don't need that evidence. That's what she said. And it's what Thomas Sowell was explaining there when he said, he worked for the government and he found that they're not in the greatest position to really fix things. We'd be lucky if they didn't make them worse. That's why Thomas Sowell, like I said, is a national treasure, man. This guy should be celebrated. We should have a Thomas Sowell Day. He should have been president, honestly. If Thomas Sowell was president, oh, man, I feel like the economy would just be absolutely booming. Booming. It would be fantastic. $5 gas, man, we have $1.50 gas. Gas would be so cheap, we'll just be driving for no reason. Just burning through it. Oh man. No, but all seriousness, I wish that this man would be talked about and celebrated a whole lot more. than what he is. We should have a time with Sowell Day, genuinely. But as always, you guys let me know what you thought about all of this in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button before you go. And make sure you guys share this video. A lot of people need to hear this message. Peace and love. I'm out.